how many of you have ever been on My Berea and have looked at a Moodle course? How many have not? Okay. That's kind of what I thought. We would have several here today. So during my session, what we have done with this is to take all of the content. They're actually videotaping the sessions, and we're going to put those on each section along with the handouts, the PowerPoints, resources, and all of that material. You'll be able to go into Moodle and to do that. Now, we have enrolled already everyone here in the course. So when you do what I do, you should actually go into the course and you would be ready to go. So if you would all log into My Berea, same as you always do. So you see over in the top right hand corner, it says Moodle Courses. Once you get into My Berea, if you'll go in and click on Moodle Courses, you should go to a section just automatically. Let me go there. And it'll open up. And this is what it's going to look like. It'll just automatically go into that. If you go down and progress down the page, you'll see a wellness paradigm. But here's the section that Gail just finished. Little synopsis here. Here is the PowerPoint that she just shared with us here. So we will also embed the video in this section. So if you need a refresher on some of the content that she shared, you'll be able to go back and just kind of refresh your memory on that. But certainly the PowerPoint, if you're going to use that, you want to have that as a conversation with students, maybe you do it in its entirety, maybe you would only take a couple of slides out. However you use that will entirely be up to you, but the resource is there for you. In the workplace expectations, there's going to be some things there that I will share, and then also a list of additional resources from activities to I even have the workplace expectation poster in there. When Sue Raimondo comes in just a little bit, and when she begins to talk about work-life balance, you'll be able to read that, and then you've got a whole list of things here, and you just simply would click on one of those, and it will bring it up, and then you would be able to go from there. And so that would be the resource guide that she has for that she'll discuss a little bit later. There is a checkbox over here just so that you have a way of keeping up with what you've looked at, what you've used. You can check that one off as having been completed. When Tim comes for his, there's a time management piece here and high performance. There's also a PowerPoint here and then some resources here that he has provided for that. So it's very easy to log into. You've already been enrolled, so the course will pop up. You just maneuver down and use the items, as you need and as you see fit. It's a lot of resources there. I will say we're not expecting you to just share every piece and every item in its entirety with your students, but these are here to just help you to be able to explain to your students, first-year students, some of these ideas and concepts that we're talking about today. All right? So let's go back to the workplace expectation, because this is a section that I'm sharing with. And so first of all, I want to show you one piece that I think everyone probably ought to go in, even aside from the video. You may want to go and do this, and this is the training review. Now, all of us have been asked to do through HR the little mandatory training pieces that are online training courses. They come about once a month, once every other month, something like that. This isn't exactly that same format. And so if you click on this, we'll look at a couple of things out of here. I want you to see this. If you click enter, so what it does is a narrated session by session discussion about the workplace expectation. Over on the left-hand navigation side, you can actually go back if you want to see something about serving others. You can see what was said and what was contained in that section. So there are some things here that I would suggest that you look, because it gives you a fairly broad background of information about how you might share that with first-year students. So we're not going to go through this in its entirety today, but I would like for you to just kind of get a feel for what it looks like. So if you were to look, it takes the actual PowerPoint that I share with you and puts it into this. And so let me go to Exhibit Enthusiasm with Learning.
By striving to learn and to grow both intellectually and personally, so everyone is a learner and everyone is a mentor. The descriptors outlining this expectation is learning new things in various ways, both formal and informal, that assist in professional and personal growth.
So you see how that's laid out. Okay. There is also some discussion about activities here. And one of the things that I did with my students, is that we took a copy of the workplace expectation, and I just asked them, I said, if you were looking at these workplace expectations, and if we were following those guidelines for what a good workplace ought to look like, how does that support wellness? Well, the first question that came, from their mouths, well, what kind of wellness are we talking about? I said, well, you tell me. I said, what kind of wellness can we talk about? So that precipitated the conversation. Well, there's mental wellness, and then there's a social wellness, and there's, those types of things that we talk about. We even discovered that labor also produces a sense of financial wellness. To a degree, maybe not as much as they would like for it to, but nevertheless, it is helping them, to accomplish a goal in receiving their education. So when we began to talk about that, they began, oh, yeah, I understand now. And so then we started going down each one of these, and they had lots of ideas, then about that. I just really facilitated the conversation by getting it started. Then they had lots of ideas, about all of these. And so we've actually reprinted this. You all want to get one of these. You're the first recipients of these new copies of the workplace expectations to put up in yours. But you can use it as that learning activity to be able to just have that conversation. It's very simple. You just ask the question and then allow them to begin talking. And if they're a little confused, then you just ask a couple of other questions about, well, what about, and then once they get the idea of what it is that you're talking about, then they'll take it from there. So those will be up here at the end of the session. You'll want to make sure that you do it. Pick one up. One of the other sections here that we talk about, how labor and evaluations, and I don't know, many of us have talked about this in orientations for a long time, and we've talked about labor evaluations and how the workplace expectations were kind of key and instrumental in developing the labor evaluation. And I think this slide in here really does explain that well, because you can see it visually. So we're going to look at that for just a moment.
Another opportunity you have for discussing the workplace expectations is through the use of the student labor evaluation. This evaluation, when first constructed, intentionally embedded each descriptor with the workplace expectations, as will be seen in this document. The evaluation uses 7 key areas for assessing the work and learning performance of student workers within a department. Those areas are attendance, accountability, teamwork, initiative, respect, learning, and a position-specific section that reviews how well the student has met the work requirements outlined in his or her job description. Notice that under each evaluation area, you see bullet-pointed descriptors that help guide understanding and conversations relating to that performance area. You should also notice that under each descriptor, you will find various workplace expectations that are being reflected in that statement. For example, with the first descriptor found under respect, you will see that exhibits professional conduct in the workplace and interacts respectfully with all people, including supervisors, co-workers, and those being served, is supported by valuing all people, act with integrity and caring, and work as a team. It would be beneficial to you and to your students to thoroughly review this document in order to gain a better understanding about the connections that exist between the student labor evaluation and the workplace expectations.
And if you've done this activity, then you can also inject some of those things that you talked about with wellness in that at the same time. All right. So that's kind of the way that this is laid out, all the way from beginning to end. And it takes you through the workplace expectations, each one, and has a short discussion about that. You can use this to just as a preparation tool for yourself in preparing to discuss it with them. This may not work the very best for just showing it. The way that it pops up, it doesn't do like a PowerPoint where it takes the entire screen, but it's confined to that one area. So you see here where it's not quite fitting on the screen. This is really for more personal use here for you as a supervisor. Okay? Any questions on that? All right, let's go back to. All right, so I would suggest that you all look at that first, go through that, and I think that will give you a good idea of what it is that we're talking about and the types of things that we'd like to be able to share with students. Down in the resources, under Workplace Expectation PowerPoint, there are a lot of the same things here, but this is more or less to be able to be used if you want to use it as a standalone and then discuss it as you go through it. So there's some things here, and these are referenced in that little video clip that I just showed you at the beginning. And it goes through each one of those workplace expectations, just like what we shared on the training tool just a moment ago. So you can go through those as quickly, as thoroughly as you want to go through them. And those are just found in that prior. But here's the video that I want you to see. Yeah. So this is produced by one of the students. We're going to take just a minute to watch some of this. Now, students could just see this on their own, or they could go to bring their laptops and just watch
Today,
this
we'll be taking a
in your
closer
office.
look at what makes the labor program so robust in nature, the workplace expectations. These expectations are designed to fully integrate with every aspect of student labor and are equally reflected in the descriptors on which students and staff are evaluated. In other words, they are central to both work and the feedback which makes the labor program so developmental in nature. The workplace expectations are as follows. Number 1, exhibit enthusiasm for learning. Number 2, act with integrity and caring. Number 3, value all people. Number 4, work as a team. Number 5, serve others. Number 6, encourage plain and sustainable living. And finally, number 7, celebrate work well done. Exhibit enthusiasm for learning. As the name implies, this describes one's drive to learn and grow, and to pass on this enthusiasm to others with whom you work and attend Berea College. This applies to everyone: students, co-workers, staff, and supervisors. Act with integrity and caring. It goes without saying that integrity holds great importance in all interactions one may have. These qualities are important, and one should never hesitate to show them when it provides an opportunity for people together to build relationships and trust one another. Again, this is a descriptor that is important not only in the workplace, but in all aspects of Berea College. Value all people. An inclusive workplace is a happy workplace. Valuing all people means acknowledgement of the potential in everyone with whom you work, and the mutual respect that comes with the interactions between your fellow employees. Everyone can bring something good to the table. work as a team. Community and teamwork go hand in hand. To this end, it is important to recognize the truly good work that can be accomplished when we all work as a team. This includes working together with your supervisors to actively pursue proactive solutions to problems that you normally may not be able to solve yourself. Work together. Serve others. All work is important and serves the needs of others. Practicing the same degree of good service with which you would wish to be treated sets an example for all others to follow. Encourage plain and sustainable living. Berea College is an institution that places a high importance on sustainability. It is the backbone on which we set our standards for quality both at an institutional and community level. Our good work practices and policies should move to reflect this. Celebrate work well done. We all do good work at Berea College, and good work should be celebrated. This recognition and acknowledgement is important in order to recognize the great things we do in the workplace each day. Examples of celebrating work well done might be weekly labor meetings, student and staff evaluations, Labor Day, or something as simple as positive verbal affirmation. You probably already know by now that student and staff evaluations are an important part of the labor program experience at Berea College. The workplace expectations are key in this, for they are the context on which students...
Okay, so you get an idea of what that is. There's a little bit more information there that Hunter shares with you, but you could ask your students actually to just review that if you want to. Now that's in the PowerPoint. It's also in that first item that I showed you that's laid out like the HR trainings. It's embedded in that, so you'll be able to watch it there and see what it is, what it contains, and then proceed from there. Students can actually log into that. You can share the link. I have the link for you right here, and you can share that with them, and they can watch that if you want to do that prior to a conversation or just as a part of the work time. I think it takes about 6.5 minutes, something like that, to go through. And Hunter did a good job in just being able to outline those, and also from a student perspective, he actually wrote the script and constructed the video and all that as a part of the training resources at the labor program, and so we use it that way. The activities that I referenced just a moment ago, you do have one here, and this is the first activity. And so it just goes down. You can read through that. It tells you really what the activity is, what you're going to need, a procedure, and this is kind of outlined on that training clip as well. It just talks you through it. And then it just goes through some points about each workplace expectation. Here's one that I thought was kind of interesting, because in the training video, we talk about research, and I was surprised to learn that what we talk about in serving others in the act of service, which could be volunteering, which could be just in a service capacity to others, there's some actual scientific research in that, and this one I think was reported in the American Medical Association Journal. There are some statistics that show just the act of serving, taking your mind off yourself and actually placing it onto another person, has some actual measurable health benefits. Did you know that it could increase or lower blood pressure? They even suggest that it can, in some instances, increase lifespans, because it takes, I think, the stress of everyday life and takes that off your shoulders and refocuses our energies toward serving and helping and equipping other people. And there's something beneficial about that. And so, you can actually talk about that in your areas. Here's lower cholesterol, helping others lead a longer lifespan, greater happiness, better pain management, sometimes, and lowering blood pressure. That was reported in the Journal of Psychology and Aging in 2013. The act of serving others. And so you do have some things here that you can talk about in that activity that will just help reinforce what you're talking about, and that in the discussion. Then there's another one there, and this one is just little tidbits of information, trivia, I think, more or less. But when you talk about all of these people and the impact that they've had on the world, you have to assume that somewhere in their life they had a healthy understanding and a wellness about work. There probably was other people in their lives that were encouraging them to go on and to persevere and those kind of things. It's just a type of trivia, and I think it's just kind of fun. If you were to look at that, well, that's in the PowerPoint. I won't go there, but we'll actually go through, and the PowerPoint is a lot more interactive because if you click on it, you actually see the name pop up and that. But we'll show you these people, and it lists, I think it's 10 here, of different scenarios here. Do you know who lost 8 elections and appeared to suffer from depression? Now this, it could be anybody in the world, but in this, a famous person. Abraham Lincoln. Do you know who had trouble finding work as an artist? And he drove an ambulance for a while? He's an artist. You know him as Walt Disney. Whose first book was rejected by more than 20 different publishers? Any idea? Dr. Seuss. Was told to go back to driving a truck and quit singing. Yeah, you know that one. Who dropped out of high school and performed odd jobs such as fixing hair and makeup of corpses? This one was Elvis Presley. Yeah. I mean, just odd jobs with this little trivia. Whoopi Goldberg. This person lived in poverty and in a house infested with mice and was rejected by 12 different publishers. J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter, was kicked off of his varsity basketball team. You knew that one. Thrown out of school because his teacher said he couldn't learn. Who? Not on this one. I mean, he may have too. Thomas Edison. Dropped out. It was a Harvard dropout. Now you know him as a very successful person these days. Mark Zuckerberg. And had a recipe that was rejected from more than one from Colonel Harlan Sanders. Well, the answers are over here. So if you need those. So that's all in one thing. So it's little bits of just interesting bits of trivia that you could do and kind of make those connections, because certainly in their lives they had people who were valuing the work that they did. They were offering bits of encouragement and those kinds of things. And so so that's kind of the way that that's set up. And what I would do is just look at the workplace expectation training review first. Most of these handouts and those things are all explained in there, and they're shown in a little bit more detail. And then you can actually click on these. You can print them out if you want to, or share them with students, however you choose. I wanted to show you one thing at the very beginning, is the wellness paradigm. And has anyone seen this before? Yeah. When you look at that, which areas in that paradigm do you think could intersect and have some impact with labor, or labor upon that wellness paradigm? Do you think as we work that we can help increase emotional health with people? The question is, how do we do that? And what kinds of things. And I think Gail laid a real good foundation for that, for some people. Intellectual growth, sustainable growth, social growth, physical.
Yeah.
Certainly, in many jobs. Spiritual growth. And what's here, it says the ability to seek self-awareness and find meaning in something other than yourself. As kind of a spiritual experience. lot of positions allow for that kind of growth. A financial wellness, sense of wellness, as also an occupational type of wellness. So these are things, I think, you could look at this. Lots of things here that you could use to talk about and have conversations with students. When you're talking about labor and how those individual pieces might promote wellness, to some degree, and these are certainly some points and topics that you would want to include in that conversation.